Hello, boys and girls. This is Miss Newman, and this is how we're going to be doing our learning for the next 7 weeks. So I'll be doing a short little video lesson each, Tuesday through Friday, and then on Friday you're going to do some working on that skill. So this week we are going to concentrate all on character traits. If you remember, we've done some character traits in the past. This is describing the character in the story or characters. We did this before with a couple other books. And if you can remember, I'm going to show you our anchor chart that I've made today. And it's going to kind of tell you what we're going to do for the day. So if you look over here, we have character traits, and our I can statement is I can identify traits to describe a character. And so when we talk about describing a character, we are saying what they're like on the inside. What is their personality like? We can describe their inside, like their personality and who they are, or we can describe their outside, and that's what we see with our eyes. And if you can remember, we practiced doing this with the Porcupine book around Valentine's Day. We talked about what we saw on their outsides. We said brown spikes. I think they had orangish eyes, and we talked about what we could see in the pictures of the story. That's their outside traits. Today we're going to in this whole week, we're going to really focus on those inside traits, and that has to do with what a character says, thinks, does, and what they say. I think I said all four, right? And you have that talk card that looks a lot like this, but it has some pictures at the bottom, and it has a brain for what they're thinking, it has a mouth for what they're saying, a heart for what they're feeling, and then it has someone like running for what they're doing. And so all those things tell us about the person. If we think about the pigeon in the pigeon books, how could we describe that pigeon? We want to use those descriptive words that are called adjectives. So we use adjectives to describe. So let's think for a second. What are some adjectives or some describing words we could use for the pigeon? What do you think for a second? So you might have said silly, persistent because he never stops. You might have said that he's a little goofy. Sometimes he gets very angry, right? Those are things that those are adjectives that describe the pigeon. So I want you to think for a second, what are some words we can use to describe characters? What are some common character traits that we see in books? I want you to think for a second. I already have some written down, and I know that you're probably thinking them right now in your brain. So you might be thinking, let's go over to the chart and look. So I have some common traits of characters. A lot of times we see characters are determined. They do not give up. That's kind of like persistent, like we said about the pigeon. They're confident. That means they know that they are doing well and they have whatever their task is under control. They are confident in what they're doing. Silly, we see a lot of silly characters. Thoughtful, they're thinking about others. Friendly, we see a lot too. Sneaky, ooh, that's a good one. Shy, selfish, adventurous, I love that one. They might be rude or brave, lazy, kind, clever. Those are just some common ones that we see. That means we see them a lot in stories. So I've actually already read the story that we're going to read today to you, but we're going to take it a little further, and we're going to think about all the traits of the characters in this book. So the story is The 3 Hens and a Peacock. Who remembers that story? I think most of you should, because I think most of you were a part of Flipgrid and doing that lesson with me. So when we're listening to the story today, I'm trying to prop up my phone. When you're listening to the story today, the first thing is we have to identify characters. Who are the characters in the story? We can't describe them if we don't know who they are, right? So I want you to be thinking about when I first introduced this book, who are the characters? We're going to be filling in this chart over here. So we're going to be putting characters, a trait that they have, and evidence. And so what does evidence mean? And I know that you probably said evidence is proof. It tells me why. If I say someone is silly, why did I say they were silly? What did they do in the text, in the story, that told me they were silly, right? We have to have proof of our thinking. And it's called like justifying your answer. If I say something silly and someone hasn't read the story, you could go back in the story, tell them, oh, they're silly because they're wearing pearl necklaces, and I think that's silly, right? So in this story, first job for today is going to be identifying the characters and putting them on the chart. If we have time, so we're only doing 15-minute lessons, so if we have time, we might be able to jump into some of the traits of maybe one or two of the characters. So let's go ahead and get started. I just want to remind you of your talk card. You might have these printed out from your packet if you still have those. My printer is not working right now, so it kind of looks like a little speech bubble, and it has what character traits describe the characters on the inside, and how do you know? Okay, we're always justifying our answers, always giving proof, the evidence, as the chart says. So we are going to read Three Hens and a Peacock. And sorry, there's this big sticker on there covering that up. So we're going to identify those characters. Then we're going to go back, talk about the first character trait, and give evidence, okay? So those are our goals for this story. All the characters, their traits, and then evidence, okay? So this is by Lester L. Lamanek. Three Hens and a Peacock. What is the setting of the story? Look at just this title page, and you should be able to identify the setting. First, what is a setting? Where and when the story takes place. You're exactly right. So if the setting means where and when, and we see this beautiful picture, what's the setting of Three Hens and a Peacock? It looks like a farmhouse and a farm. So that's what you should have said for setting. Okay, let's find out who the characters are. The title helps me predict who the characters might be. The title says Three Hens and a Peacock. I think the characters in the story might be Three Hens and a Peacock because the author included it in the title, and he also included the pictures that showed me three hens and a peacock. So that's how I justify my prediction. All right. Let me make sure you can see. Things were quiet on the Tuckers' farm. The cows chewed their cud, the hens clucked and pecked and laid their eggs. The old hound stretched out on the porch, watching and listening. Once in a while, someone would stop to buy tomatoes or corn. Perhaps a quart of milk. Nothing unusual happened there until... So think about, who do we have so far? The peacock showed up. The cows and the hens and the old hound kept right on doing what they'd always done. But that peacock had never lived on a farm. I had no idea what to do. We're going to actually stop right there. So who are the characters that we have seen so far in the story? There's been a couple that the author already mentioned in the text. So who do we know so far? The hens. And I'm going to take you with me. So we're going to add hens. Who else do we have? Peacock. And this is my makeshift classroom, so bear with me. And then we also have one more. And that was the hound. Yes, the hound. He was stretched out on the porch. So, we have identified 3 main characters in the story: hens, peacock, and hound. So, can we describe them yet? No, not really, because we haven't read the book to know anything about them. We haven't heard them speak or have any kind of real dialogue yet. So we can't do that quite yet. So what we're going to do is what I would like you to do before tomorrow's lesson. Now this is optional. You do not have to do this, okay? But if you would like to, I want you to think about those characters. And if you've heard me read the story before, you might already know a little bit about the characters. But I want you to predict, what do you think those characters might be like? We already know that the peacock is new to the farm and he's never lived there. So I'm already starting to wonder what might happen with this peacock who's never even been on a farm, and now he's joining all these farm animals. He's got the hens, we see the cows in the back, but the hens and the dog and the farmer. Why would a peacock be on a farm? These are questions that I'm wondering, and I'm really wanting to find out for tomorrow. So what questions are you wondering about this book so far? What do you want to find out? And you can also, if you would like to, respond with a prediction. That'd be great too. What do you predict's going to happen? Or what do you predict some of their character traits might be? So those are just some extension options that you're able to do by either responding to this video or just talking about it with your parents or whoever is at home with you, okay? So I want you to be thinking, tomorrow we're going to read the whole story and we're going to pick out all those character traits, okay? And then we're going to give evidence. Why are the hens that way? Or why do I think that's a character trait of the hens? And we're going to use that evidence from the book, okay? All right, so this was our first lesson. So I hope that you are able to enjoy it and follow along this whole teaching from my guest room / exercise room / workout room. I can show you, look, we got a bike, got mat down. I've had to empty it out. Then I've got some teaching stuff everywhere. It's craziness, but I love and miss you, boys and girls, and we're doing the best that we can. We all are, and I hope that you know that, and I appreciate all the work that you're doing with me at home, okay? So I'll see you tomorrow for your next lesson. Bye.